Okay, maybe that's what I'm doing wrong. Okay, so I think that maybe I'm actually live now. I need to remember to check that little check mark that just says go live when you receive something, because that is way easier. Okay, we're live now. Right? Okay, I am live. Well, welcome to the stream. I had a bit of a technical difficulty there. You guys actually didn't see most of it, but I did have a bit of a glitch. So hopefully things are better now. Losing my audio. Sorry, I've got a bug in my ear that lets me know when someone chats, hopefully. Last night it didn't work all that great, but I'm hoping that today it works better. Okay. Okay. That should have us good to go. So, I'm hoping to do maybe a couple of deliveries today. We'll see where that ends up taking us. But let's go ahead and hop in the truck here. And get it started. Okay. So this is us right now. We just barely made a delivery. I did not do a parking job on my last one, hence where I am right now. And then, hey Ventress, welcome to the chat. I am great. Let's see, Ventress 7, huh? Okay, so that is not coming through again. Sorry, Ventress. I've got a bot that should be reading the chat, and once again, it's not doing that. Do I need to close that? We're going to do. Oh, I wonder if I did that. Oh, that was cool. Okay. Why is it not picking up this chat? I'm not sure why. Because I had this last night as well, where it picked it up for a little bit, or it picked it up for part of the time. There we go. That looks better, maybe. And now, what if I refresh this guy? Okay, I think I'm seeing it now. I'm just typing a chat to see if it reads it. Okay, I think I'm about through my issues here. Yes. Okay. Ventress, I should be able to hear what you type now. That way I won't miss it. If you could even do a test for me and make sure it's coming through, that would be great on my side. Where are you from, Ventress? Because my guess is your English is better than my whatever language you speak. So where are you from? Let's pick a delivery here. Let's see. We are in Santa Fe. I'd kind of like to do something a little longer. We could run a mobile berry. The only problem with the mobile berry is they're long, they're hard to drive, but they weigh nothing. I don't like that they weigh nothing. That just, I guess that they just count that the whole trailer is that. Ah, Poland. See, my Polish is non-existent, so I can't blame your English at all. I have never been to Poland. Okay, I've been Poland in Euro Truck Simulator, but that's it. I've never actually been to Poland. Could be a fun place to visit, though. I've spent some time in Germany, which isn't too far from Poland, but I think there are some pretty major differences between the two countries. So, other than geographical location, it's probably not very similar. I'm going to go ahead and haul this sand to Holbrook. It's not my most lucrative job, but it's fairly heavy. It gets me into Arizona. Let's go ahead and do that. So we'll set that as our GPS location. So what time is it in Poland right now? Usually when I back up, I try and turn on these mirrors so people can see. Poland's what, an 8-hour or is it a 9-hour time difference to me there? It is currently 9:30 in the morning in Utah. I would assume that it's actually, what, midnight over there? Or somewhere thereabouts? And do I have my headlights on? I do. Okay, that was good. Okay, let's get on the road here. I thought I might actually end up with some people from across the globe if I did a stream in the morning, because the time would be so different. I think most Americans are either at work or at school right now, so I didn't think I would have too many from the United States or this side of the globe on, which is a good thing. I like to mix it up. Oh, turned green on me. Okay, so I've got just a little bit of a drive before I pick up my trailer here. Definitely a lot more responsive without a load. Once I pick up the sand, it'll be a little different here. Nope, I'm blinding people. Okay. Oh, I was speeding a bit there. I need to make sure I don't speed. Should have slowed down a little sooner there, and then I wouldn't have had to stop. I almost played Euro Truck this morning instead of American Truck, but there were some things I would have had to get set up and everything, like the description of my mods, so I didn't want to do that, so I decided to go ahead and play this instead. But I actually need to get in and play Euro Truck so I can explore some of Italy. Maybe even try the Special Transport DLC. Oh, rough road ahead, huh? Oh man, you poured tea on your laptop. That sucks. Modern laptops are often designed fairly well so that they have flood channels to help with that, but that makes for a bad day. I'm glad it still works for you. Man, this is a rough road here. Oh, nope, I did catch it. Okay. Well, hopefully your night goes better than your day did, because that sounds like it was a rough day. Okay. Let's go ahead and... Oh, didn't quite make it forward. There we go. Let's pick up our load. So we are going to be hauling 21 tons of sand, I almost said hay, to Holbrook, Arizona, to hop on to get put on a train at that point. So I do not see a green flag on my map, so I'm just going to drive around till I see a trailer. I love these quarries. They do a good job with them. They do a good job with a lot of things. And actually on ATS 2, Pro Mods 2 point something, I don't remember which version, should be coming out here pretty quickly. And then I'm going to have to download that and get it updated. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Oh, I've been driving with my extra mirrors up this whole time. I usually just do that when I'm backing up. I'll have to remember to turn them off. And say for streamers it might be, or for anybody watching the stream, it's probably a little nicer because otherwise you don't get to see my mirrors. But, and I guess if someone would like me to leave them on, I could do that. So Ventress, what time is it over in Poland right now? Oh, I totally missed that. Let's try it again. Turn it that way some. Okay. I know when I was in Germany, I called my parents at Christmas one time, and I remember I called them at like, something like 7 o'clock in the morning, and it was about 10 p.m. for them on Christmas Eve. So my guess is that it's something similar in Poland, but you might actually be over one more time zone. Okay, let's go ahead and test our lights. Left, right, brake. Okay, and then I've got my new reverse lights so I can see when I'm reversing. Ah, gotcha. So yeah, you're 11 hours difference here. 10 hours difference, because you're 10 hours difference. It's a pretty good difference. So have you tried, I was seeing in the most recent update, again I haven't played ATS 2 in a little bit, that they added in time zones, and actually I saw that they added in, I wonder, because I think they added in time zones here as well, but someone was saying it was messing with the Grimes Winter mod for them, but if we go to gameplay, I think they just added in time zones here as well. Oh, let's see, time zones, steering camera, blinker. Okay, physics. Maybe it's on an upcoming one that they did it. Invert mouse, keep route advisor. Maybe I'm mistaken. I was watching another YouTuber play, and he was talking about the time zones. Maybe I misunderstood what he was saying. We'll get turned around here. In this tight quarry. Oh, I am turning too sharp. Ah, crap. I think I got caught back there. I totally did get caught back there. So let's back it up a little bit, and we're gonna have to go a little wider. Sorry, you guys can't really see what I'm doing over here. Okay. So we're gonna crawl up out of here. And I killed it. Okay, we're gonna set the parking brake. Oh, gotcha. So I assume you must be using a different computer at this point. I actually went a couple of weeks ago. I went a little while without a laptop, and that was more difficult than I would have thought it would be. At the time, so I got my laptop's actually from work, and I cut it too sharp again. My laptop's actually from work, and I turned it in because so I do IT work, I do computer work, and there was someone else who needed a laptop, and I've got a desktop, so I was like, I'll let them use my laptop until a new one comes in, and I oh, actually I need to go that way, and I was like, I don't use it that much anyway, so I went ahead and I turned in my laptop, and then that 2 or 3 weeks while I didn't have a laptop were a lot more difficult than I'd expected them to be, because I just didn't think I used my laptop that much until I didn't have one. And then I realized, I actually use this quite a bit, and was really happy to get my laptop back. I just was kind of under the impression that I didn't really use my laptop because I had a good desktop, so what was the point of using my laptop, but I found that I'm away from my desk a lot more than I think I am, and it's really nice to have it those times. So I feel with you on not having the laptop for a little bit, as I went through that just recently. It's funny how reliant you get on something that, you know, I look at my smartphone, for example. You know, I think I would go a little bit crazy if I lost my smartphone. I actually have my brother-in-law was saying just the other day that, hey, I don't have my smartphone right now and I'm going a little bit crazy, and it's like, oh yeah, I think I would go crazy without my phone as well, now that I'm used to having one. Oh, it is time to downshift. Come on, grab a gear. But now that I'm used to having a smartphone, I think that I would go a little bit insane without it. Not literally. It would take some getting used to, though. Oh. No worries. If you were to speak to me in Polish, I wouldn't know anything you were saying. Come on. I actually was watching somebody on a German stream a little while ago, and it helped me to realize just how rusty my German has become. But it was also a good experience for me, instead of just, you know, I read something in German once in a while, but for the most part, I haven't done much with German in 10 years. And so it's definitely rusty, and good for me to go back every once in a while and practice it. And sometimes movies are good for that, although oftentimes foreign languages in movies are oversimplified. They only use the simplest stuff, and so it's not all that useful for practicing. There are exceptions. One of those exceptions is a movie called Inglourious Bastards. I'm not sure what it would be in Polish, but Inglourious Bastards. And overall, I'm not a huge fan of the movie, truth be told, but I love the way they do the foreign languages, because oftentimes in American films, if it's a foreign language, they just, you know, have somebody talk with a stereotypical accent and pretend like they're speaking that language. But in this movie, they go through the whole thing speaking French and German and different languages, and then just doing subtitles, and I think it does a lot for the immersion in the movie. Okay, I think it's time to start splitting my gears at this point. Anyway, Ventress, glad to give you a chance to listen. One of the things that may be causing you problems is I do have an accent. Being from Utah, I've got a bit of a Utah accent, although I don't have it nearly as strong as a lot of people. Oh, there we go. Yes! It's working again. My minimal advisor mode is working again. Anyway, I don't have as strong of an accent as some people, and part of that is just things I've done in my life that have affected that accent and made it less, but it is definitely still there. And as you probably already know, in foreign languages, accents make a huge difference on understanding. I know, for instance, the stream that I was watching the other day, the guy's accent was something I was not familiar with, and so it was a good experience, but it made it a lot more difficult for me. And you may very well be used to, you know, British English rather than American English, let alone Utah English, which is different as well. So glad to give you the chance. I know in German in particular, I love to listen to native speakers and get the experience that brings. Okay, I need to find a place to sleep, actually. Let's see what we've got in the way of a rest area. I could have pulled off there. but I can probably, we will hit this spot right here. I'm probably going to have to turn off anyway. Oh, I see. Okay, so we'll do that. We will stop and sleep there. Now, one of the differences you probably notice, and I notice it going from ETS2 to American Truck Simulator, is the speed of the trucks. So in ETS2 or in Europe, it seems that trucks only drive 90 to maybe 100 kilometers per hour, which is about 60 miles an hour at tops. And American trucks often drive 75 or even 80 miles an hour, especially if you get, in California, they have lower speed limits for trucks, although in truth, most of the trucks don't follow that. The 55 in California, I would say, is seldom followed by the trucks. But in Nevada, in Utah, Arizona, we have much higher speed limits and no separate speed limits for trucks. So you often have trucks going 70, 75, 80 miles an hour, which is, anywhere from 110 to 130 kilometers an hour. I mean, right now I'm doing 70, which is about looks like 115 kilometers an hour, which from my understanding is a little bit abnormal. If you were to look at Europe, that would be, 90 kilometers an hour, or I've got a pretty glitchy sign coming up. This fake McDonald's sign is glitching out pretty badly. Actually, all of my signs are. I think I've probably got a sign mod on, and that could be where that's coming from. Anyway, set my cruise. Top gear, just cruising along at 75 miles an hour, or about 120 kilometers an hour. So, we are just, where are we? I think we just left Albuquerque? Yeah, I just left Albuquerque. I'll be pulling off actually at the next exit to take a rest break. Yes. Yes. It's okay. Many of us don't understand British people. Actually, I do fairly well at it, but there are some fairly major differences. One of those being vocabulary. Obviously, pronunciation is different as well, but vocab is very different as well. Especially in some instances. But my wife and I have been watching which I don't necessarily disagree with. Now, that having been said, I don't know the statistics of accidents for semi-trucks in the US, and so maybe it would be unnecessary. And frankly, there are a lot of just open roads in the US, and I think that's why they have it so high, because, they're just traveling so far. Russia is probably similar. If you get up into the areas in Russia, you've got large distances and stuff. But I think it just comes from America's so big, especially out west, that you've got a lot more open roads than you do have problems with accidents. Okay, let's pre-select here for 4th, and I didn't make it. Almost clipped that sign. Okay, and I will be turning in right here at this truck stop. I know now the other, I don't know how it is in Poland, but I do remember driving on the Autobahn in Germany and driving at, 190 kilometers an hour or something like that. I don't know if you have similar setups in Poland to the Autobahn where there is no speed limit. But I think America has kind of gone the other way on that, where they have no special speed limit for trucks. and then the normal speed limit isn't possibly as high. So we'll go ahead and... Oh. I have no idea what honked the horn just barely. Why is somebody honking at me? I'm not getting out of your way. You're going to have to go somewhere else. Okay, and we are going to go to sleep despite this guy honking at us. He'll be gone when I get back, so... Let's hop out, take a look at our truck. Okay. We'll go ahead and start the engine. And then let's do a quick check here. Left blinker, right blinker. Blinker is working there. Brake lights. Okay, I think we are good to go. We'll hop back on the road and see if we can finish this trip. Oh, so actually we'll go back here. I do want to look at the map for just a second. So we are now outside of Albuquerque. We'll be driving up and through Gallup, and then we will be dropping off before we actually get to Holbrook proper, at the rail export over there. So just driving on the I-40 shouldn't be too bad. Yeah, and that's actually, so our freeways are generally 75, which is about 130 kilometers per hour, and that guy is missing his wheel. Oh, they came in now. Okay. Is about 130, although in Utah, although actually I guess 130 is more like 80 miles an hour, which in Utah they've just started. There are 3 of the freeways in Utah that are now speed limits of 130 or 80 miles per hour. In fact, the highways that I most often, or the freeways that I most often drive on now, do that, and it's great. I love having the higher speed limits, and I don't think they've really had an uptick in accidents or anything, so I don't think that's been a problem. But 120 is pretty good speed, I think, for most places. So, do they? Are there other areas besides in Poland that Polish is a main language? Are there any other countries right there that have? I don't know if I necessarily am asking official language, but at least strong Polish-speaking groups. I know. I ran into people in Germany speaking Polish as well, who had immigrated over from Poland. But I don't know if there's any countries that I guess do, other than Poland. Okay. How close am I here? Oh, that was actually a pretty good stopping spot. Come on. I'm not gonna get going. Oh, that's why. Okay. Sorry. It hadn't picked up that I downshifted, or that I went down the range. I didn't click it far enough. So it was still going into 5th. Okay, have fun. Enjoy. Thanks for joining the stream while you did. Oh, that's me. Pre-select for 5th. Oh, there we go. Okay. Looks like I've got free to enter here. Let's get going. I need to get me a hood decal, because I use the little hood decal to help orient myself along the lines. So I need to get a hood decal again so that I can see that. Maybe when I stop for maintenance the next time. And we're gonna go to 8 high or 8 low now. And thanks to I can't remember who makes the minimal advisor. Oh, I should have filled up with fuel. How many miles do I have left on my tank? Whoop. I'm also going off the road. 291 miles. Oh, I'm only 100 miles from my destination. I can make this. Okay. They did a good job at representing the rocks and shrubbery and whatnot of New Mexico. It has a very different feel than like California does, for example. I think it's pretty true to life. Now, I'm not actually very familiar with this stretch of road in real life, but I have driven some in Arizona and New Mexico, and Utah's pretty similar on that front. Okay, 75. And I'm going to go ahead and get over because these people are being slow. No, we're going to set it for like 77. There we go. 1600 RPM. I do like the Grimes winter mod because down in most areas in Arizona, oh, this looks almost smoggy. Most areas in Arizona and New Mexico do not really get snow, so having a snowy mod is a little overkill. So the Grimes, I think, does a good job at just having it be nasty weather without actually having any snow thrown in there. So hey Andrew, welcome to the stream. I thought you'd hop on and watch me drive across to Arizona, huh? We're actually heading right now from Albuquerque, New Mexico to Holbrook, Arizona, which is just over the border. I had a guy on just a minute ago, Ventris, from Poland, so that was kind of fun. Although something tells me, Andrew, that you might supposed to be being at work. Maybe you ought to be working instead of watching me, but I won't complain too much. See, out in Virginia, it would be, what? Virginia would be about noon. Are you on your lunch break right now? Oh, and now it's dropped to 65. We're going to merge over. Set the cruise again. We are now going through Gallup. I've noticed this morning, I think that my stream actually has a larger lag than it normally does. No, they don't have Arizona and Poland. You've got a good point there. So, found out that in... Oh, crap. Not quite lunch, huh? So yeah, in Poland it's like 6 o'clock at night right now, so he ended up having to hop off and go moderate another stream. So anyway, in the Indian village, Indian handmade arts and crafts. Well, until you interrupted me, Andrew, I was about to start into my thoughts and feelings on morals, but I don't know if I want to talk about that with you on here. So I'm going to ask this right now, Andrew, because I want to find out what the lag is on my stream, and I guess I could just... Actually, I can do this. We're gonna pause for just a second. Like I said, I think the lag is higher than normal. Actually, I'm going to do it this way. Andrew, could you, when you hear my question, just type something really quickly, I want to see how long the lag is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Oh, this is me. Whoa! Did you see that? I totally almost missed my turn. That was way close. I should not have, you know, forced myself to make that. I should have just taken the next exit and come back. Luckily, I made it, I guess. That would have been expensive if I hadn't. So I'm playing with a real economy mod, Andrew, which makes it where in the original game you make like thousands of dollars on every delivery. Do it again. Okay. Okay, Andrew, I'm gonna start counting now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Yeah, I think you messed up again, because I hope it's not 20 seconds behind. But maybe it is. Okay, actually, let's... Okay, well, we might have like a 20-second delay on this stream. Are you sure you're on live view? Maybe you're not on live view. Maybe it's just that delayed. Oh, come on. I'm missing all my gears. Andrew, you're getting me all discombobulated. Yes. And I'm also killing my engine. We're going to start out in crawler gear, because apparently this is heavier than I realized. Okay. Yeah, okay. So we are about 20 seconds behind then, because that's what I was hoping. Okay. Well, I'm not sure why it's so much higher of a lag than it normally is. I scheduled this as an event, and I'm actually, other than the fact that I have more control over it, I feel like it's actually a higher lag than it normally is. But maybe it's some of the options I chose when I created the event. Maybe next time I'll double check my options. I know I chose low latency on the stream latency, but I didn't choose like the ultra low latency for two reasons. One is it complains because my ultra widescreen is not 1920 by 1080, and second because it also makes it where nobody can DVR. I do like the ultra low latency, but I wonder if I just chose a different option than I thought I did on the stream. Let's see, 65. We're not quite going that, but here is the rail export up ahead. Let's go ahead and kick on the engine brake, and we're gonna do the retarder as well. I did not check the trailer for hobos, and in fact, with it being a sand trailer, they probably could have climbed in whenever they wanted. I did do a quick look around, but I did not check for any hobos. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Where do we need it? Yep. Okay. So we are going to do this. So I have to back all the way around and into the back side. So we're going to see if we can do this. I did it the other night. Okay. Watch me run out of fuel before I get it done, though. I've only got 186 miles on my tank, so I don't need that engine brake anymore. Okay, so now let's crank it hard left. See if we can bring that trailer around. Actually, I'm gonna hop in. It probably is. I don't know. Unless they're hiding under the sand there, we're probably safe. Okay. We'll get it going back that way. I don't want to start cutting it too far that way yet. So your stepdad could give me pointers on my backing, I bet. Because I leave a lot to be desired when I come to backing a trailer. We're going to actually start cutting it that way some. In this game, they like to do blind corners a lot where you have to turn to your right, which in real life they tend to avoid. But in game, it, you know, adds difficulty and whatnot, so they do them a lot more. I actually had a guy on my stream a few times a little while ago who was a truck driver in real life. And his job, he wasn't a long haul trucker. He actually, oh, I'm cutting it too sharp. He would actually maneuver the trailers in the... Ooh, 1,000 yen, huh? Ooh, that sounds like a lot, but it's probably not. Say, I'm not so good at it. And I did not make it. Okay, let's pull up just a tad. I need to cut this sharp, otherwise I can't make it, but it looks like I cut it too sharp. And I still cut it too sharp. Nope, I made that amazingly. That looks like probably just a problem with the hitbox, but it looks like I did make it. So we are going to crank it. See how good looking I am in my truck here? Looks just like me in real life, I think. And now I've got... Okay. Let's try this again. See, I came into this all wrong. Okay, so we've actually got to back it some that way. No, this is not Big Rigs Over the Road Racing. It's probably very similar, but it's not. Okay. And if I clear that, which I barely did, I might be at a pretty good angle. I do think that it would be very difficult to back my trailer at the speed of light. I could be wrong. I mean, I've never had to do it, but I think that would probably be less than ideal. Now, if you look, I've got to make it all the way around there to the other side. And it is the far side. Okay, now, we're going to go ahead and hop forward again. Come around. We're going to try and do this from inside the truck now. Because, you know, that's more realistic. So... So one of the things I got recently, I added onto my truck these reverse lights, because before when I was backing up I had like no vision, I couldn't see anything, and it's made a big difference on how much light I have. Oh yeah, so you have like Capri Sun, huh? So you've got like all kinds of Capri Suns. I knew a guy in Blanding who was like the Lay's potato chip guy, and he always had like Fritos and Lay's and whatever else. I think it was maybe it was the Fritos, maybe they're different companies, I don't remember. Anyway, he always had potato chips because you'd end up with stuff that didn't get delivered or was damaged or whatever. And I'm coming in too steep again. We've got to straighten this out just a bit. Anyway, he was the potato chip guy, and so he always had potato chips. See, and I would much rather be the potato chip guy because I'm not a huge fan of Capri Sun, so there's that, I guess. I'm gonna hit back there. This is one of the harder places to deliver in the game. Not the hardest, but it's one of the more difficult. They have much easier ones than this. Andrew, I could see you wanting to drive the McDoubles truck. That would probably be your greatest achievement in life, is getting to drive the McDoubles truck. So how's the video quality, Andrew? I'm actually streaming, so it's using the NVIDIA coder at 9 megabits, which seems to be about right on this size of screen. I am so far off. I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to get on, because I came in way too far to the right. But we're gonna do this. I mean, other than, you know, my beautiful face, how's the video quality? And also, is the audio level good? It seems to be pretty good, but since you're the one watching it, you would probably be a better judge. Come on, a little farther up. There we go. Now let's crank it hard to the right. You know, on your iPad vertically, this is probably a very small screen because it's already a widescreen. And then to turn it into portrait mode, which is a problem I have when I watch your stream. If I watch it on my phone too, it's not that you're ultra wide or anything, but then I end up having to turn it vertical every time I want to type something. Cool. Good deal. This is, I think you already know this, I use the Blue Yeti mic. You've got the Snowball, so similar. And then I've got, I think you have the same camera I have, the C920 from Logitech. And then I just encode with my, it's a GTX 1060, but I encode using that. So my CPU is mostly idle. I think the game is fairly single-threaded, so it ends up using one core very heavily, and then the rest is idle. Yes. Seeing that actually might even be better than... So when I'm typing on my phone, it ends up... Basically, if I want to see it, I think I have to turn it portrait. Yep. That's true. You are on your Mac Pro, or your... What is it? Is it a Mac Pro, or is it a... Oh, I don't remember what they're called in that generation. Is it the Mac Pro, or is it something else? Okay, we have made our delivery. I'm going to go ahead and take a screenshot. A screenshot here. And I'll probably use this as my screenshot in-game, or when I get in and post it. We're going to do that. Actually, we're going to go a little higher. We're going to try looking down view this time. I always do the looking up view. We're going to try a looking down view. Something like that. Mac Pro. Okay. It is called the Mac Pro. I know they switch up their names every once in a while. Now it's the iMac Pro or whatever. So, you know, they mix up their games and their names, and it throws me off. Well, let's go ahead and drop the trailer here. And 259 miles, 279 XP. I went up a level. You know, I cannot mount guns on my truck. I'm actually going to increase my long distance because I'd like to be able to drive something out into California or something. No Mad Max style. You can mount some things, but you cannot mount guns. I have an email. It's probably the bank saying, hey, look, you can have more money now. That's what they usually like to tell me. which currently I owe them $50,000, and I could actually take out another 70, huh? We could go truck shopping. Actually, I really like my truck at this point. So, let's see what we've got. In fact, if we were to buy another truck, I'd probably want to upgrade my garage first so that I could hire somebody. Where's my company management? Garage. Upgrading my garage is only... is it not going to let me upgrade my garage? I wonder if that's something to do with the... Oh, upgrade right there. 100,000, huh? Who just paid his truck off? Did your brother-in-law just... Or not your brother-in-law, your stepdad, did he just pay his truck off? Let's see what jobs we have in Holbrook here. Go to Tucson. I haven't been to Tucson in this game. You know what, we're going to do... It's only 10 tons, though. I kind of would like to do... You know what, we're going to do Tucson. Although I'm at the rail export. What do we have available from the rail export? Everything wants to go back to New Mexico. Okay, so yay. Cool. Out of curiosity, do you know what model his Kenworth is? Is it a W900 or is it something else? That's the only model I know. Oh, or I know it's not this, but I would love it if he had a K100. Let's see if I've got a picture here, because my favorite Kenworth is actually... Oh, where is it? Maybe I'll get a picture of one. You know what? I think there's a way, maybe it's in here, that I can... Oh, where is it? I don't do this very often. Profiles, diagnostics. Oh, about. I think this is the one, truck browser. So there is the... Because this is the W900 right here, which is similar to my Peterbilt 389, although I actually think I like the Peterbilt 389 better. But looks like maybe the Kenworth 100 is not the mod. They just did an update to the game, and that mod looks like it's dead. So anyway, it's a cab over a flat nose. Let's go ahead and go pick up our next trailer. Oh, missed that gear. Okay. No, but I do get tickets here and there, and because it's because of the real economy mod, if I do get a ticket, it basically shoots all of my profit for that delivery. Like this last delivery was $389, and a ticket can easily cost over a couple $100. And it was actually a couple of deliveries ago. I was going up to northern New Mexico, and it was a fairly short delivery, so I think my pay was like $220 or something. And I ended up with a $220 ticket for speeding, and it was like, there you go, there went all my cash. So I got experience out of the deal, but I didn't make any money on the delivery. I do own my own truck, which early in the game you can just take jobs for other people and you don't have to own your truck. But once you can own your truck, it's a better deal. So I should send you, Andrew. Actually, I'm gonna. I have a. It's a shifter here. You can't see it. It's out of screen, but it actually is the real shift knob off of a semi truck, an Eaton Fuller shift knob, and then they've put electronics in it and stuff to pick it up. So I've got an actual shifter. Ooh, sounds like you need to get your plates renewed. Did I ever tell you the story about when I let my license lapse? If not, I should tell you that story. It's a pretty good one. Okay. Okay, let's hop on the freeway here. So, I don't know when Donnie's birthday's coming up, but you should get him this for his birthday. Oh, go get your McDoubles. I thought you'd just get a whole semi full. Okay, I'm probably going to be streaming for another, I don't know, maybe half hour. I was looking at maybe going from 9:30 to 11, although I don't have a hard stop on that front other than to go do some housework and stuff. Got some laundry that needs to get folded and everything. So if you hop back on, I'd probably be willing to drive longer. But go enjoy your lunch break. And then, I don't know, get to work. Well, if he really wants it, you got to get him a triple screen setup anyway. There you go. I see how it is. Well, tell him that he only has to drive. It's a 20-to-1 ratio, so he only has to drive 1/20th the distance to make his deliveries. See. Tanner keeps telling me I should just do this in real life and then I could get paid for it instead of paying to buy all of these accessories. And I told him, no, it's not what I want to do in real life. It's good for a video game, but that's not really what I want to do in real life. Okay. We're going to get around this bus. Oh, I can turn off my mirrors at this point. Okay. Go ahead and get over, because this is my exit. So I'm driving without a trailer right now, going to pick up, so I've got lots of power to spare and easy time driving. And looks like I'll be hanging a left. And we will make this. Oh, and now we're slowing down as we come into Holbrook, Arizona. Thank you, I agree. Bobtailing, that's the name. I couldn't think of it. Yeah, I usually throw the mirrors up on the stream when I'm backing up, because otherwise anybody watching the stream is just like, I can't see anything that's going on. But I agree that it looks better without. Sometimes I forget to turn them back off when I'm done dropping off the trailer, though. Thanks for joining. We're going to pick up, I think, some tractors to take. We're in Holbrook, Arizona right now, and we're going to be taking some forklifts is what it is, down to Tucson, Arizona. So that's what we're going to do right now. I have a Peterbilt 389, 425 horse with an Eaton Fuller 13 speed. So that's what I'm driving right now. I purposely chose not to get a higher engine. I'm using a mod, it's called the Real Engines and Sounds mod, which the guy has sought to do a more realistic representation of engines. And so my engine's a 425 horsepower Detroit diesel. And my reason for choosing that is actually it was cheaper than everything else. In fact, it's so cheap I almost feel like he needs to change the values on those, because the Detroit diesels, you can get a 650 horsepower Detroit diesel for like the cost of a 350 or 400 horsepower Cat. So I kind of wish that he would mix up the prices a little bit. But I am also playing Class's realistic economy mod, which means that the $7,000 I have right now has been hard earned, and I bought this truck specifically, the Pete 389, because I could get it for about $50,000 versus a lot more than that for most of the other trucks. So other than the fact that I like the Pete, I don't necessarily, I won't say that I don't dislike my truck, but a lot of it was motivated by the cost. I also often buy the Kenworth, modded Kenworth, because it's cheap. But I did not do that this time. I went ahead and went with the Pete. And it's a good thing, because with the 1.30 update that just happened, the Kenworth 100 mod is broken. They are, I agree, and that's kind of where I wish that he had. Again, I chose this one because of the price more than anything, but I think Detroit diesels have basically gone out of business at this point. If they haven't, they more or less have. Come on, there we go. No, that still didn't go in, huh? Okay, I am off. Anyway, from my understanding, that's the case as well. Detroit diesels aren't really a thing anymore. But maybe that's why it's so cheap, because it's a used motor. I put a used engine in my truck. Maybe it's just a used truck all around. For $50,000, it's probably a used truck. Anyway, let's go ahead and hop out, take a look. So this is the load. As I think I already said, my mirrors are generally on my two screens over here, so you won't see the mirrors while I'm driving. But I try as I'm looking at the truck to keep things in frame, although sometimes I forget. Brake light works. Okay, we're going to do a test here. I actually did this a little while ago, last night when I was streaming, and I just kind of do it because, and I couldn't move anywhere. I was like, what's going on? And my lights weren't working, and I had forgotten to hit the attach trailer button, so it wasn't actually attached, and I couldn't go anywhere, and I thought the game was broken for a half second. Exactly. Anyway, looks like I've got 3,000 miles on my truck, although I really do think for the price I paid for it, it would have to be a used truck and would probably have a couple more 1,000 or 100,000 miles on it for the price I got it for it. Now let's go hop on the road and head to Tucson, Arizona. So, fair warning, how's the audio level on the stream? I think it's pretty good. I actually had someone earlier say it was pretty good. But how's it sounding for you? Agreed. And I usually do set my parking brake. I don't remember if I did that time. But that's a good point. Sissel's Mega Pack. Okay. Is that a... Oh, no, that's just a street light. Okay. So my last load was much heavier than this one is. I think this one's only 9 tons. My last one was 36. Agreed. I actually, on Euro Truck, I also do a realistic economy because it makes it matter a lot more when you make problems. Good deal. Glad to hear. I've debated on adding like background audio or something, like a background music, but I'm afraid I'm just going to end up with a copyright infringement at that point, and it's probably not worth it. Maybe I could find some copyright-free music to throw on there, but drop some frames. But I don't know as it's actually worth it in the end. So you can probably see I've got a bug in my ear right here, and I've actually got it running to my laptop, where I've got a speech bot that's reading off your chats to me so that I don't have to constantly check the chat. When I was streaming last night, though, it didn't work for a minute. I thought it was working, and so I went most of the stream not really looking over at the chat. And then I looked over at one point, and there were like 4 or 5 chats in there that I didn't even realize had happened. And so I felt bad for those people, as I totally missed their input into the stream. Yep. I realize that. I actually, the game by default has music in it, but I find the game music to just be distracting. It doesn't help with the immersion. It might, make things a little more interesting, I guess, but I think it breaks immersion a little bit because it's not actual music. Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to go anyway. I totally cut him off. That was my bad. I also have, so I've got a G920 shifter, and I have a Tech Affliction mega shifter, which, if you know the CSIO SKRS, it's similar. It's made with an actual shift knob that's got electronics in it and stuff, and then it has an Arduino that connects in. So I've got a splitter and a range selector and a easy jake, which I find makes things a whole lot easier. The one problem I have is that it's all the way up. I need to build me some kind of a mount here so it's closer down where a real shifter would be, but in the meantime I'll deal with it the way it is. And we are almost up to high gear now, and it is 65. So I always drive at night. Oh, I need to refuel. I'm gonna run out of fuel. Let's see if I can fuel up in Sholo. There is not a fueling stop in Sholo. I might be able to make it to here, but I have got to make sure I stop. Otherwise, I'm going to run out of fuel. I was supposed to fuel up after my last delivery. Do I turn around, or do I think I can make it? I can make it. I think I can make it. Let's go ahead and go to high. Yeah, you know what, I should, hopefully this isn't too jiggly here. I'm just going to show. So it's actually this guy right here. So it's a knob that's built on top of my G920 shifter. Anyway, hopefully that's in frame, and hopefully I'm going to be back in frame when I put this back. Anyway, that's the shifter setup. And you just put it on top of your okay, I was able to show it. Okay, you just put it on top of the normal G920 shifter, and then it's got an Arduino connector that runs its own USB. Pretty sweet setup. Of course, it's not cheap. I paid $185 for that piece of it, so it's not a cheap setup, but I love it. Yeah, CSIO is a company that started it. They actually did a I don't remember if it was which bootstrapping company they used, GoFundMe, whatever it was, and they were the ones who started it. And I actually originally ordered from them, but they never delivered it. I waited 6 weeks and never got it, and finally I ended up telling the bank to refund the money because they charge you at the get-go, and I told the bank to refund the money, and then once that refund had gone through, I ordered this one instead. I've actually heard of some quality issues with the SKRS as well, And this one is great. The quality on this one is phenomenal. I have no complaints about that. I shouldn't have been Jake breaking into the sleeping town, but anyway, so it's awesome quality. I love the feel. Tech Affliction, actually, I sound like a Tech Affliction shill, but Tech Affliction actually has another one. They're calling it, I don't remember what they're calling it, but this one's made with some off-brand shift knob, which I don't actually care about. But they're making another one for about $40 more, I think, that uses an actual Eaton Fuller shift knob. They also have an option for chrome instead of black plastic and some different things to make it even better. And they also, at least if chrome is better, he's currently in the process of developing a turn signal. He actually took a Chevy turn signal out of a Chevy pickup. Oh, come on, I missed it. And I almost hit him. Making a turn signal out of a Chevy pickup that then mounts down next to your steering wheel, and then it has cruise control built into it, and the turn signal, and I believe the lights. So you get all of that functionality in an actual, now it's not something out of a semi-truck, but it is something out of a real car. But I'm sure that's going to be a pretty penny, but it looks really interesting. Currently I use my paddles for the shifters and lots of buttons, and I could free up a lot of those and make it more realistic. The one thing is, I'm sure that the auto cancellation does not work, so I'd have to get used to canceling my own turn signal, which isn't too big of a deal. But that's something I would be interested in getting as well, to up the immersion there. I know the triple screen setup does more than about anything, having a steering wheel and triple screen, but the shift knob was a good buy, assuming that kind of money is available to somebody. And I do kind of wish, after doing more research, that I had saved up a little longer and maybe bought a different steering wheel, maybe a Thrustmaster or something. But overall, I love the setup. It's really good. When I first started playing Euro Truck, I was using a controller, and yes, and I don't think I'll ever be able to build a full interior, because this is actually my workbench, my work desk. I work from home, and the reason I have these is for work purposes mainly, and I don't have room in the house to do a full build, so I don't think I'll ever get to that point. But signals and wipers would definitely be nice. It's something, he's building a clamp that would just be able to connect to my normal desk and not interfere there. But I have seen some really cool setups from some people. Yeah, and you know, I was actually looking, and something you might want to look into, there's a guy, there's a YouTube channel called Existential Egg, and I talked about it last night a little bit, and I probably ought to put a card in this one as well. And in fact, let me see something. I'm new at this broadcasting stuff, but I want to see if I can add a card in the live version. Let's just go ahead and throw in a card. And I'm going to add a card to a channel, and we're going to say Existential Egg. Can I search for that? Let's see. YouTube Existential Egg. I spelled existential wrong. Because he does a really good job at explaining Steam controller configuration. Now, he specifically is a Steam controller user, but the reality is that Steam actually has a lot of capability no matter what the controller type is. Come on. And so what he's been teaching me, I actually went in for a little bit and I was messing with the possibility of configuring a good Steam controller or Xbox. Yes. So he specifically, has a Steam controller that he configures a lot. Although most of what he talks about, apparently I have to put that in as well. Okay. Let's see. Info and settings. Oh, live control room. I want to go back to live control room now. Tell me if that card pops up. I think a card should just be added to the stream now. I'd hate to lose you in this stream, but it's an awesome channel anyway, because Steam offers a lot of capabilities for modifying controller setups. Now, obviously, you'll never get a steering wheel out of it, although the Steam controller has a gyro, as does the DualShock 4, and I've heard of people actually steering with the gyro in there. I don't know how well that works. I haven't tried it myself. But what he talks about is Steam has all kinds of configuration capabilities. You can do configuration for double taps on buttons, for long holds. You can have buttons that modify other buttons. And his channel has just a lot of really cool information about how to configure controllers in the inside Steam. And so, like I said, he specifically talks about Steam controllers, but half of what he talks about could be applicable to any style of controller that you're using through Steam. Now, obviously, this game runs through Steam, so it would work. And I actually tried to see if I could have it configure my steering wheel, and it didn't work. I ended up not working that way. Okay. Anyway, so Existential Egg, awesome channel. He talks about configuration for first-person shooters, for all kinds of things. And there's a lot of really cool stuff that before watching his video, I didn't know you could do with Steam. And so I've started messing with it. I picked up a Steam Link for Christmas. It was on the Black Friday sale for $5, as well as a Steam controller for $35. And I was able to then my boys and I play things like Cave Blazers, or they'll play Lego Harry Potter on the TV now. But I've got two Xbox One controllers, a DualShock 4, which I recently learned can connect to the Steam Link with Bluetooth, and I did that, which works really well. And then I've got one Steam controller, so I've got 4 controllers altogether. And the Steam controller is probably my favorite of the bunch, but all of them have a lot of capability, and Steam can actually control them, or can configure them a lot more in depth than games normally allow you to control things or configure things. Lots of configuration options that you would never see. Oh, did I miss my... Nope, okay, I was gonna say, did I miss my gas station? But it's coming up right up here. I get talking and I miss things. Okay, let's... There's a, looks like a, oh, this is, oh, I know this spot. This is cool. I don't know it in real life. I've driven this part of the road, though, on a different profile before. Okay, let's start slowing down, because this guy's slowing down. Little windy roads, and there's my gas station right down there. It's going to save my bacon because I'm almost out of gas. Yeah, I started this. I went and made my last delivery, and as I was making the delivery, I was like, whoa, I've got to fuel up, and then totally forgot to do so. So we are going to pull in here and get some fuel. Anyway, yeah, I recommend that Existential Egg. He puts out videos fairly recently. Not really often, probably more often than I do, so I have no room to judge there or anything, but does a really good job at explaining a lot of the configuration options inside the Steam utility, or inside the Steam program. And I'm totally gonna have a fun time getting out of here, but we'll do that in just a minute. Let's stop the engine. We'll go ahead and... That trailer is all over the place. Hey, look, he just pulled in to get gas. She just pulled in to get gas. Okay. So I am gonna have to... I'm gonna have to back out actually and pull in better because that trailer's never gonna come around there. Another option, I could just back it back out onto the highway, but that's probably not my best plan. 289 gallons, huh? Okay. Yep, I'm gonna say highly suggest it. Oh, and okay. I'm just gonna cycle through my engine a couple of times here. You know, I'm just backing back out onto the road. Sorry for anybody that comes, but I am not going to be able to. Okay. And we are good. Are you just going to pull forward while I'm still in front of you? And we have fuel. We are not going to run out of fuel now. One of the things that I really like about having the Mega Shifter is that you have tactile recognition of which gear you're in. Obviously I've got it on screen as well down there, but I can actually feel which range I'm in, whether my splitter is forward or back, versus a controller, or even, you know, where I've got a shifter but I don't have that physical split. It can be hard to tell what's going on that front, and usually I end up trying to do something else, you know, like click it a couple of times to figure out where I am. But in this case I can do this. Now the one problem that I do have with it is it's got an Arduino connector coming up, and if the Arduino ever resets during the game, then you lose and you have to kind of flip each of the switches one time for it to renormalize itself. And also in game, if you enter the menu, or if you go like Alt Tab out to a different program, then you end up with it having forgotten the position of the switches, and then you have to reset it as well. Hey Eduardo, welcome back. It was good to have you back on the stream. I had some time this morning, so I decided I'd try streaming at a different time and see what the response was to it. Eduardo was on my stream last night briefly. Good to have you back. We're making a delivery to Tucson, Arizona currently. We picked up a trailer of forklifts in Holbrook, and we're now heading to Tucson on this little windy road, which is way fun to drive. I'm enjoying it thoroughly. We'll go ahead and split that gear, and then we're going to drop back down. Windy little road. I'm actually probably getting faster than I ought to on this road. We're going to slow it down just a tad. Because the last thing I want is a speeding ticket. Ah, good deal. Glad to have you back then. Glad to have you interacting this time. It's always nice to have someone to interact with. So, if we want, last night one of the things I was talking about was morality and how do you get effective moral systems. And one of the things that I was thinking about that I didn't necessarily talk a lot about is the idea of intentional versus unintentional actions. Now, I talk about this with my kids all the time, you know, like, look, they didn't mean to do it. I realize that it still hurts, but, you know, your brother didn't mean to hit you, or he did mean to hit you. And then I usually have a talk with the offending son about, well, you know, would you do it the same, or would you do it again next time? And oftentimes the answer is no, and then oftentimes it happens again. But as you look at actions, you know, obviously there's a difference between an action that was intentional and an action that was unintentional. The end effect may be pretty much the same, but it helps us to know whether the person's likely to do it again. And there's actually a study, and I don't remember how old it is, but I've read about the study. I haven't actually read the study, where they did some brain scans of people, not dogs or something, and they had them make decisions, and then they measured the brain scans, and so they had them make these decisions. What they actually found is that the basal, or the more basic parts of the brain, seemed to be what made the decision, because the decision would actually get made, and then the frontal cortex would become involved. Yes. Yeah, and so they did this study, and they found that people made the decision, and then later the prefrontal cortex, or the logical portion of the brain, the higher functioning portion of the brain, would step in, which made them decide that what was actually happening is that it was the non-higher functioning parts of the brain that were making the decision, and that the higher functioning portions would then come in and justify why they did it. Yes, Tucson, sorry. We're going to Tucson, Arizona right now. In fact, we're probably, if we throw up a map real quick. So we just made it through the Windies there. We're about even with Phoenix right now, and we're heading down to Tucson. So we've got another maybe 100 miles. You know what? I am going to reroute, though, because I'm going to discover that while I'm swinging through there. And then afterwards, I've got to remember to go. That's probably a truck dealership down there. I'll go discover that when I'm done. Anyway, so we would make the decision, and then later our brain justifies why we made the decision. So, you know, if I choose to hit somebody, as an example, then that decision is made, and then other parts of my brain will kick in and try to justify why I did that, because I've got morals, I've got values, and oh, you're welcome. And other parts of the brain will then step in and say, oh, well, I did it because of this. And so what I find as a parent is oftentimes I'm asking my children, why did you hit your brother? What were you thinking, right? And I get an answer that, you know, well, he stole my toy, or whatever the case is. Or he broke my Lego creation. But the truth of the matter is that that's probably not necessarily, I mean, that may be why they did it, but a bigger portion is that's actually their justification for why they did it, not necessarily the deeper reasons for why they chose such an action. And so what I've been trying to do recently is take a different approach and say, okay, if you had it to do again, would you choose differently? To get them to think about, okay, you know, I see the after effects of my choices, and if I had it to do again, you know, and again, why do you choose things? That obviously comes in, but would they make the same choice again? And in truth, they may make the same choice again. When they're put in that same situation, I do it all the time. When they get put in that same situation, they might very well make the exact same choices they did previously, but at least it gives them a chance to think about the consequences of their actions. Poor guy, I guess he should have slowed down. An opportunity to think about their actions and the consequences of them, and maybe next time they'll make the same decision again. But if they think about it again, maybe the next time or the time thereafter, or at some point in the future, well, I over-rev that heavily, maybe at some point in the future, they won't make that same decision. Maybe they'll be able to reprogram their brains. I mean, currently their brains are very malleable, much more malleable than mine is. And so maybe they'll be able to reprogram their brain that sometime in the future, when their brother, oh, that's not what I wanted to do, when their brother breaks their Lego creation, they won't have the automatic response of hitting them. They'll, you know, choose something else. So I'm using the retarder to slow down because, what with it being night, I don't like to use my engine brake. So welcome to Tucson. Man, I think I just dropped a bunch of frames. it just got a little glitchy. Maybe Tucson's a fairly big area in game. Which among that, I have not noticed a difference yet, but I'm sure it's going to make a difference. The whole meltdown inspector bugs could affect a lot of streamers' performance. Agreed. And I often talk, I say, okay, I realize you were frustrated, whatnot. I understand that side of things, but how would you like to be in their shoes, and try and bring in some empathy on that point and say, look, how would you like it if your brother hit you because you broke his creation, or whatever the case is. And hopefully as they go forward, the morality because my parents, and I don't want to ding on them too much, because as a parent I realize everybody makes mistakes. I also realize it's really hard to change the way you're programmed. I'm programmed to parent in much the same way my parents did, and unless I actively work insanely hard not to do it, I often slide right back into those same things that they always did. But my parents were very authoritarian in the way they parented. Well, I almost went in the wrong side. Well, why am I supposed to be doing this? Because I told you to. Which didn't leave me with a whole lot of information about the decision. And yes, compassion is key. And so what I'm trying to do is I get caught up into it too. It's like, well, why is it time to go to bed? Because I told you it's time to go to bed. But building in some reasoning as to why they're not supposed to hit their brother, why they need to go to bed, things like that, instead of the "'cause I said so" approach that was used on me for the most part. And in truth, my kids may not be of an age right now that a lot of the reasoning makes a whole lot of sense to them, but they're getting there. Okay, and the light turned green. And then maybe by the time they're 25 and their brain has solidified and is much less malleable than it is earlier in life, maybe they'll be able to make those decisions. Oh, and I'm briding everybody for good reasons. Anyway, so talking with them about intentional versus non-intentional. Yes, non-intentional things, we need to be careful, and it still causes harm. But the intentional things are much worse. And on the flip side, just because we didn't intend to do it doesn't mean it didn't do harm. And sometimes we owe restitution even if it's not something we meant to do. We may have very well done it on accident. But by being more careful, we'll do less things on accident, and as such, we still bear some responsibility for things that we did even on accident, which can be hard, obviously. Accidents happen. Although oftentimes, I think the saying goes, oftentimes accidents are avoidable. So although you didn't mean to do it, it could have been avoided. Agreed. So I'm going to actually modify my route. It was having me take this weird route through the city. So I'm going to change that so I have less turns. So anyway, the other thing that I've tried to do, I've got one of my sons in particular. I won't go into that. But one of the things that I try to do as well is make them realize that just because they make decisions that hurt people sometimes doesn't necessarily make them a bad person, especially if they're able to step in and learn from that mistake and not do the same thing next time. You don't have to. Shame is not a good thing, and internalizing those actions as I'm a bad person, which is something that I did for many years. I remember feeling like a very bad person. Yes. I did just discover Tucson. I think is what you were referencing. But the shame that's built in oftentimes that, you did something that hurt somebody else, so now you're a bad person, that ends up, technically we're a guilt culture in America, but we also have a lot of shame that goes into it. And I think guilt is somewhat of a good thing. It helps people to make restitution for their actions and things like that. But shame, I don't see any time when shame is a good thing, and maybe I'm looking too small, but I don't see that as a good thing for anything. All it does is make people feel bad. Oh, the great question mark. Gotcha. Yeah, it was a recruitment agency. So you know what? I'm looking at my time to when I need to go to sleep, and actually after this delivery, I'm probably going to have to go catch some shut-eye. I'm almost full on the blue. I'm not red yet, but I'm almost full on the blue. So it looks like this is my turn here. We'll stay in happy gear here in 5 low. And then bitumen. Oh, actually this may be the one that's not so bad. I am going to slow it down though, because I've got to go wide on this. Okay. So after I make this delivery, assuming I'm not in the red yet, I'll go ahead and go discover that truck dealership, and then we can sleep there in the parking lot. Okay, let's see where they want us to drop this. Okay, we can do that. That is not bad at all. Okay. Nope. Totally killed it. I might clear that over there. Barely. Okay, so that's our parking place. And so you're supposed to start turning after your rear wheels go or even with it, I think. So let's go here. And then we'll pull it forward. Hell, here or so. Okay, now I'm going to throw up my reverse mirrors so that you guys can see them, so that you can see what I'm attempting to do at least, but I am going to try not to use them. They're much brighter than my other mirrors are, and I'm not sure how to change that because it's built into the game, but my other mirrors are very dependent on the light coming. I'm not nearly sharp enough, am I? Actually, I might make it. Okay. We're gonna tighten it up just a tad. And that's about right. Okay. Hard right. Hard right. See if I can straighten it out in time. Okay. And bring it over just a little bit more. Back. Hey, I think I made it first try. Okay. And we are in. Let's go take a look. Parking brake. Let's take a look. That is not half bad. I am happy with that. Okay. So I'm going to snap a shot really quickly, and we're going to go from this angle because we've got extra light. Okay. Let's get a screenshot. In case I decide I want to use that one instead. I wonder if I could get like this type of shot. That's not going to work. I could do maybe from the back though. Something like that. Of course, it doesn't show much about the truck, but that might be fun. Mix it up a little bit. Oh, does T get you into that? Or just for dropping the trailer? Ah, gotcha. Yeah, I've got it mapped on my number pad here. And that's actually one of the things. So the Logitech software allows you to remap the buttons to letters or keyboard presses or whatever, and that's one of the things I actually have done is instead of every time I start a new profile I have to go in and reset all of the buttons to the buttons I want. I just have the Logitech passing it through, and there we go. Well, we succeeded. We did not run out of gas. I thought we were going to run out of gas or diesel, run out of fuel. Yes. I thought we were going to run out of fuel for a minute there, and had I forgotten to stop, we would have. But we did make it. I'm debating on doing one more delivery. You know, let's do it. We're going to do one more delivery here. Let's see what we can find in Tucson to deliver. And freight market in Tucson. So I'm at bitumen right now. So if there's something I could pick up in bitumen, we are going to do the excavator. We're going to take that same trip we just took, only go backwards with a 28-ton excavator. That could be a lot of fun. The other option is to go all the way to Oxnard, California, but I don't think I want to make that long of a delivery. I don't want to make that long of a delivery. So let's go ahead and 28-ton excavator, which is fairly long, it's fairly heavy, and we're going to be on little windy roads. This could be a lot of fun. Except I need to go to sleep. I need to go to sleep first. How long do I have to deliver that guy? Thursday? And it's currently, what's today? It doesn't show you anywhere on this screen, huh? You know what? We'll pick it up, then we'll go to sleep. So, sorry, I just got a message from Andrew, who was on the chat earlier. His stepdad is actually a semi-truck driver, and he just responded. He's got a T600 is actually what he has for his truck. Oh, parking brake. Not going to go anywhere with my parking brake on. So let's go pick up. Let's go tell them that we want to pick it up, and it looks like that's it right over there. So enter freight market. Oh, you. Good deal. Okay, where's my trailer? Is it just straight back there? No, because it's the excavator. It's over there around the corner. Okay. So we're just going to back over there. I'm actually going to, I don't usually do this, but we are going to go into reverse high. And maybe not. Maybe reverse high is a lot higher than I thought it was. There we go. Okay, so we've got to go around that corner. The reason you don't use reverse high is because it's too high geared for reverse, but I don't want to putt that long. Okay. We're almost there. Yeah, I'll pick up the trailer and then I'll go get some sleep. I should be able to find a rest area once I've got the trailer. But this is one I think I'd like to do. So I'll go ahead and go to sleep after that. I'm gonna grab a screenshot really quickly. That way I've got options when it comes time to uploading a like that. When I get around to uploading the new thumbnail, I always change the thumbnail out from the ones that they put on default. So, let's get back in the truck and let's go find a place to sleep. Oh, I was gonna go. Oh, this is gonna be hard with this long of a trailer, but we're gonna go discover that and we'll sleep there, and then we can hop on the road after that. Hopefully I don't get a ticket for driving too long, because that is a very real possibility. We'll see. Because I am in the red now. Let's see. Okay, we are good to go. This is a lot heavier than that load I was just hauling. I think those were 9 tons and this one's 36, so this will be a lot more difficult to do. I'm not going to go up a gear, so I'm going to have to stop right here anyway. Okay. Again, one of these days I'm going to hop on and do some Euro Truck Simulator again, because I have the Italia DLC and I have the Special Transport DLC, and I've basically not played either of them. I mean, I have played the Italia about that much, and the Special Transport, I haven't done a single Special Transport yet. So they've been out for what, a month now? I just keep playing American Truck. In a lot of ways I actually like Euro Truck better, but I guess not enough that I'm playing it instead, so there's that. My left monitor's a little bit off, but not too bad. Okay. A Volvo, yes! I actually, if it were open... it might be open by the time I've slept. I want to go see what Volvo trucks they have. Okay, I'm swinging it wide. Monday through Saturday. Okay, so after I sleep, I think they should be open. You know, I am gonna swing. I don't know if this is what you're supposed to do, but I'm totally backing into that parking place. Let's turn on our hazards here. I'll just do the swing on top of the line since there's nobody else here. Okay, and then since I'm backing up, I'll throw my mirrors up so you guys can see. Nope, this way. I'm kind of in the lines. You know what? I'm actually wondering if I back in, if I'm not going to be able to get in far enough to have it register that I can sleep. We'll find out, I guess. If that's the case, then I'll stop backing in. And I hit there, and it's not giving me the option to sleep, so I'm just going to have to pull in. I'll just have to do this, which is obviously not how I would actually do it if I were actually trying to go to sleep. But since that's what the game's going to allow. Okay. Look at that. Everybody will be happy with me in the morning. Turn off my hazards, kill my lights, and let's get some sleep. Okay, and now it is 11 o'clock on Wednesday, nice and foggy day. Let's go ahead and get it started here. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to hit that dealership on the way through. I just want to see what they have. Yeah, I don't know. I'm only broadcasting it to whoever wants to see. But other than that, let's see. I say you're watching at least. So it's not nobody. But nobody in game's going to care. So, there's that. I'm also going to go the wrong way through this because I want to be able to check the dealership here. Oh, you know what? I wonder. You know what? I just changed my mind. I'm going to do something else first. I'm almost tempted to... We'll see how this goes. I want to hit this service because I want to see if I can get a Peterbilt emblem on the front of my truck here. Both for vanity reasons, and I'm not going to make it. Okay, we're just going to do this real quick. We're just going to drop the trailer. That way I can just pull forward. really quickly. Hit enter. Do I have any service that needs to be done? A little bit. We'll go ahead and do that while we're here. And then we'll do, so what I want to do is see if I can get an emblem, hood accessory. I'm going to do the flying goddess. That's the one I like. Okay. And then I've also debated on, let's go, do I have the option up here to throw on? What do I have here? Is it that guy? What does that guy do? Ah, that opens all kinds of options. Don't think I want it though. But I might go ahead and throw on these. Not you. Which one is it? You? You. Nope. Which one? There we go. Roof lights. There we go. And if I go, I'm going to put maybe the third one in. We're going to see if we can add. We can't, huh? We'll go like every other one or something. This is going to get expensive though. Expensive for the real economy mod at least. Something like that. And then that's probably good for now. Adds a little bit of character to it. We'll worry about a bull bar another time. Okay, we'll do that for now. Okay, I've got a flying goddess and some lights. Oh, that would be good too, huh? Too late, sorry. That would have been a good option. So let's go ahead and start the engine. Turn the lights on. High beams. Oh, those are just my driving lights, huh? There we go. And they do seem to be turned on already. Front auxiliary, is that what these guys are? Roof auxiliary. Okay. So, let's go ahead and back up to that trailer. Okay. So, let's hook back up. And then I'm going to have to back up just a tad. Okay, and then we'll hang a hard right here. See if we can make it back out. And I barely cleared that. So I like to have the... And I did not clear that. Crap. I like to have the hood ornament because it actually helps me stay in my lane better because I can use it as a judge. We'll see if we make it through here. I do not have a whole lot of... What am I hitting? Oh, there's a little cement pillar right there. I don't have a whole lot of hope that I'm actually going to make it through here with this guy. I'm not. Okay, we're going to have to maneuver a little bit more here to get back out. Oh, I know what I can do. I know how we can do this. I actually like the Volvo trucks. But partially I think that's because that's what I always buy in, that's what I always drive in Euro truck. Now these are obviously the VNLs, not the FH series. But Volvo's done some really cool things with their trucks. One of the things they've really focused on is safety. They have a lot of safety features in them that, at least, you know, according to the marketing hype, other trucks don't seem to have. And so that actually, most of that's probably not shown in game, but it's actually some pretty cool features there. So there's some videos I was watching on YouTube that's like awesome truck drivers. It was really cool. Some of the maneuvers they're able to do and stuff, and I was like, whoa. I mean, I tried to do things like that in game, but it's not something that I ever pictured a real truck driver is doing. But apparently I am mistaken. I cleared it. We made it out of here. Let's see what we've got. So the VNL 670 and the VNL 64T. Problem on both those fronts is those cost about 3 times as much as my current truck. Also, I don't know how much I'm a fan of the 12-speed for American trucking. One of the things that is often done in the Volvos is they do the I-shift, where it's an automatic shifting. But that would kind of defeat the purpose of having a mega shifter and all of this stuff. Part of the reason I... am I caught on something? Part of the reason I play the game is because I actually enjoy the shifting process. And as a real trucker, I don't know if that would be much of a motivating factor for me. But in game, it's something that I would definitely miss. So, although... What did I hit? I totally hit something there. We're gonna see if we can get going. Nope. I might just be stuck here. Let's see, if we go like this, nope, if we go like this, I might just be stuck here pretty well. Nope, I got out. Okay. And we'll be hanging a right. Anyway, so there's some really cool safety features that Volvo has built in that I find quite impressive. Yeah, it was catching back there. Based on looking at it, it didn't look like it should be, but apparently it was. Okay, we're... Oh, this is not... Can I make a right here and get out still? I can totally make a right. We're just going to go this way. Because I'm never going to be able to make a left turn on this. So I'll just go right and then left. And we'll be okay. Okay, now I've got my flying goddess again. I like that emblem. Okay, last delivery, and then I think after this I'm going to call it a stream. 6 hours in-game time, so that should be, what, 20 minutes or so? Not in-game time, real life. And then I can go grab some lunch myself. So, going back to the morals discussion, trying to instill in my kids, you know, more than just a, I told you to, so do it. But one of the things that comes along with that is what constitutes harm. Because I'm trying to teach them not to harm other people. I don't want them to be bullies. I don't want them to be taking advantage of others. But what constitutes harm? Is harm, you know, solely physical harm? Is harm also emotional harm? And so there's that goes into it as well. And depending on how you define harm, what is and isn't moral, or what is and isn't okay, changes. I may never make it out of here either. Okay, so if I'm trying to turn right. Oh, I should be trying to turn right anyway. I'm trying to turn the wrong way. Okay. That makes it easier. More likely to be able to turn right than left. Maybe after that Isuzu delivery truck. Or before him, because he's turning. And I totally got hit. That was so close. And then I messed it up like that. Okay, anyway, what constitutes harm? Because that definitely has an effect on what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, what's moral, what's not moral. And it's an interesting thing, because I think oftentimes my kids, being young as they are, they understand how physical harm is harm. I mean, if you hurt somebody, it hurts them. You physically hurt somebody, but the idea of mental harm in others, mental or emotional harm, I mean, they see it in themselves. You know, when their feelings get hurt, that's a cool truck. When their feelings get hurt, they obviously make a connection there, but I think they often don't make the connection with other people's feelings being hurt. And so then there's trying to make that connection and build in that empathy, but realize that other people don't like their feelings hurt any more than you like your feelings hurt. And so there are other forms of harm too, though. I mean, is it harmful to have something that somebody else doesn't have? And I think that the perfect example, I think of the story of the Donner Party, where they were literally starving to death. So in that kind of a situation, or any other situation where a resource is scarce, such as food in that case, is it then harmful to overindulge? Whereas most of the time it might just be bad form or gluttonous. In today's society, I don't think of hunger as being a problem, but obviously it is, and that's just a problem with the way I'm thinking, not saying it's not. But if you're in a situation where you're literally starving, or then somebody choosing to devour or eat too much food is then harmful to you. And I think that's fairly easy to understand. If you were cold and someone else is hogging all of the blankets or the coats or something like that, then that would constitute harm. If you were in a situation where resources are scarce, then somebody hogging those resources is then harmful to others. And so it's easy to say, well, that's an immoral choice to do so. But what about, if I've got agreed, and I think it would. Fair Warning said, it would carry heavy consequences if others were starving, and that's true. But what about? I mean, there are people in our society, in the world, who have, way more money than anybody else, and I'm not talking that they have thousands of dollars, that they have millions of dollars. They have billions of dollars. Now, I realize on the one side that those billions of dollars actually do some good. Those billions of dollars, they don't have $3 billion filling their mattress and stuffed in their walls and whatever else. They're actually out creating jobs and that sort of thing. But is it then immoral for any one person to be able to choose? You're stopping, huh? I won't complain too much, I guess. But he's not stopping. He is. Okay. I'm just going to take my half out of the middle here. But is it amoral or immoral for somebody to control that many resources, even if they are using it to create jobs or whatever? An old van, that's awesome. That's from the Jazzy Cat AI traffic mod. But, is someone being in control of that many resources when there are people who don't have enough food to eat at night? Does that then become immoral? If somebody is being kicked out of their home because they can't pay the mortgage and you have 4 homes. Explain, fair warning. I'm not sure what you mean by that. You need the wealthy to bring up the poor, not the other way around. Because I think I might disagree with you on that front. So it'd be interesting to, because I think oftentimes that's the way it's presented, but trickle down doesn't work. Trickle down is obviously a derogatory phrase, and I had someone point out at one point that, that's just a term that people who don't understand use, but it's actually a term used much across the industry. So I cannot stop right there. I will not be able to get going if I stop right there. So I'm just gonna ease up into here, because I actually, fair warning, I actually look at it the other way around. Not that you need the rich to bring up the poor, that without the poor you wouldn't have the rich. If you don't have, if you think of the idea of the 1%, in order to have somebody who is in the top 1 percentile, you have to have 99 percentiles that are opposite. And that's not 99% of people, that's like 999.9% of people that are in the lower percentiles. Okay. I can see where that could be the case, but I can also see where that's not the case. Because if you don't have those people who make less than you, then there's nobody to buy your products that then help you to be where you are. For instance, you could give, let's say, $8 billion, and you're going to stop for me even though you have the right of way. You could give $8 billion to the rich, right? To the 1%, for instance. And I believe that's about the number that was given to the during the bailout after the recession, or during the recession, at the end of the recession. You could give that to the rich, and it might go to create jobs, but it might just go into a Cayman Island account and not do anything. Whereas if you give $8 billion to the poor, if you gave $8 billion to the lowest 1%, it would then go to buy groceries. Yes, and I don't think that stepping on heads to get to the top is necessarily moral. Because if you're a CEO that's, say I've got 1,000 employees, right? And I make $1,000 off of each employee every year. That means I make $1 million a year. That's not necessarily an insane amount of money, but it's definitely a lot more than I'm paying my employees. And if I'm paying my employees $20,000 a year in order that I can make $1 million a year, that's immoral, because you're hurting others in order to not even provide yourself with the bare necessities, but in order to have way more than you actually need. They don't have as much as they need, while you have more than you need. And so I don't know Liberty Pen. I'll take a look. I don't think it does, to an extent, and I think that there's an important distinction here. I'm not actually saying that nobody should make more than anybody else. What I'm saying is that at some point that excess becomes immoral, because that excess comes at the harm of others. So, for instance, if I cannot afford a house, that's not the case, but if I cannot afford a house and you have 4 houses, I consider that immoral, because you are then I agree. I think that corporations having rights like people is a problem, but I don't think it's the only problem. Now, in general, corporations are the problem. For instance, most small business owners or even medium business owners do not make $3 billion a year, right? That's not something they do. They don't have the ability to do that. I do think that shareholders being, or workers being shareholders would help, but I don't think it solves the problem, because the problem we have in our society right now, or a problem we have, I won't say definitively the problem, is that no matter how much you get, it's never seen as too much. And we come from a species that originally had scarce resources. Now, in today's world, we don't actually have scarce resources. There's a creation of a scarcity, but there's not scarce resources. We have enough food in the world that everybody in the world could have food. We have enough money in the world that everybody in the world could have money. I think it would make a difference were they shareholders, but I think it depends, because if you had the employees being 10% shareholders in a company, but you still have a board and investors that are 90% shareholders, they're still going to be the ones who make the decisions. Wrong switch. And so I think that employee shareholders would help, but I don't think it's the only answer. I think that we need to look and say, okay, at some point, if I have 1,000,000 times as much as you have, that's too much. It's just too much. Your average person in America doesn't have $1,000 in savings. And so if the average person doesn't have $1,000 and is living paycheck to paycheck, and I have a net worth of $3 billion, the only reason I achieved that is because I'm paying everybody else so little that they don't have $1,000. A bit utopian, I agree. And that's where I said, I sound radical here, and I realize that, but I don't think that there should be no difference. The problem is that the amount of class difference today is greater than the amount in any time in human history. Agreed. Oh, I agree that wars, etc., will keep it from getting there. But oftentimes wars are fought not for moral reasons, for reasons that increase profits for corporations, reasons that increase profits for those who are in control because they've paid off those who make the laws. And so, I'm trying to get over here and people aren't letting me over. I do, and I think that, and I actually will take an exception there. I don't think that any single person or small group of people should have control of that large amount of resources, because then you end up with people like your common man, your average man, who, the average household income in the United States is about $48,000 a year, which means that the average individual income, if you assume that a household is two people, two breadwinners, is something less than that, maybe $30,000 a year. And so you've got your average person making $50,000 a year, most of which goes to pay for rent, utilities, food, automobile, necessities, more or less. And so they end up in the end without a whole lot besides necessities. Now, if their necessities are met, then I guess that's not the end of the world, but in many cases they're not. And then you have people who have an income of $300 million a year. If you have a net worth of $3 billion and you figure, about 10% return on your investments, which is a little bit high, you could probably say 5%. So if you've got a net worth of $3 billion a year and you have a return on that of 5%, that means you just made $15 million that year, whereas the average person makes $50,000 a year. And that's where I see the problem. Not so much that this person has control of that much resources, but the disparity in control. I just hit that guy. I barely nicked him, which doesn't seem to have done any damage. but I totally hit him. That's what I get for talking while I drive. Let me see if I'm actually damaged here. It didn't count. It did not count it as damage. But that disparity is where the problem is. You know, I'm okay with somebody having, because they, and we could get into luck versus hard work, but assuming that they've worked hard and they have 1,000 times as much as somebody else, maybe that's not so bad. That would mean, you know, they make $5 million a year. I don't know, that's still a lot, and maybe 1,000, but okay, if you had someone who has 100 times as much resources as some, man, I am going way too fast here. We got to slow it down. Maybe if they had 100 times the resources, that still gives them some place to go, some place to achieve. But if you had, yeah, freebie, exactly. I totally thought that I hit him harder than that. But if, you know, if I have 100 times more resources than somebody else, maybe that's not such a big deal. That gives me, you know, well, if you employ 1,000 people, then maybe you ought to have a little bit more than somebody else. Maybe that provides incentive to do better. But at some point, it's just too much. At some point, it's too great. And I think that at that point, the reason it's too much and too great is because it's immoral. It's actually standing on heads, as you put it earlier, to achieve something that you don't need. I mean, there was a time when, you know, it was fighting over every scrap, and at that point, it's hard to say it's immoral when it's me eating or you eating. I mean, I guess that's one thing, but when it's me having 5 houses, 2 yachts, and 5 sports cars versus you eating, that's a problem. You know, that's a good question. I don't agree that in any way. One way to limit a person's income per se is to actually do something like a minimum wage, raise the minimum wage, which doesn't say, hey, you can't make as much as you make, but it says, well, you've got to pay them better because you're not paying them enough. Something to that effect can make a difference. I'm actually an advocate for universal basic income, again, radical here, for that reason, because then it says, look, you're worth this much. And part of the reason I support that is because of the advent of artificial intelligence as well as automation that's coming. Here I am driving American Truck Simulator, but there's a really good chance that in the coming near future that this job won't exist, right? That this job will be replaced with computers and, you know, auto driving trucks, and then you're going to have 30 million people who don't have jobs. What's that problem because of too high minimum wage? Is it that people can't get a job? Because what they found in studies as they look at places with high minimum wage is that in relation to the wage increase, the reduction in earning potential isn't the same. So if I go from $7 to $15 an hour, I might have a slight decrease in the number of jobs, but it's not in comparison to it's not equal to the amount that the wage was raised. Because what happens is it then makes it where those people at the bottom, those people who are holding up the whole system, have more spending money, and the economy increases in relation, versus if I give $1 billion to those up top, it only increases a little bit. Gotcha. So then you have things like, well, we're not going to provide you with any kind of retirement or health care because you're already making too much and it's costing us too much. I think that's a short-sighted view from the side of the employers. And I'm not necessarily saying that I don't understand why they make that decision, but let me take another example. So I actually work for a company their name is Utah Navajo Health System, and we run 4 clinics out on the Navajo reservation. One of them's actually not on the Navajo reservation, but 3 of the 4 are. The other one is 20 miles away from it. Now the average income in that county is $48,000 a year. It's a agreed, it is the reality, but it doesn't have to be the reality. And here's the thing, so I work for UNHS, and I'm an IT guy. Now I realize I'm in a privileged position. I'm an IT guy. That's not the lowest paying wage there is out there. But they also provide 100% benefits. I have full health. They pay into my retirement. And I also have limited dental. So I actually have to do dental and optometry, eye care, in-house. It's actually an in-house thing. They have dental offices and an eye doctor now, and so I have to do those things in-house. But medical cost, I've worked for them for 6 years now, and I haven't paid a dime in medical over that time. I've had surgeries, we had a child, lots of things, and I haven't paid a dime because we have no copay, and they cover 100% of the costs. And if I ever get a bill, I just email that bill to a member of the company who handles those, and they pay it. That's it. I don't pay a thing. Now, does that mean that I've taken advantage of that? Nope. I would say I've been to the doctor slightly more than I did before I had that. But I'm also getting preventative care that I probably wouldn't get otherwise. And so I see that as a long-term view by the company I work for. Are they a perfect company? Far from it. But that long-term view and reduction in costs for me makes it really hard for me to leave that company. I actually work remotely for them currently, 3 weeks out of the year, and then I travel over on site 1 week out of the year, or 3 weeks out of the month, and then I travel over 1 week out of the month. Crap. We're gonna just inch through this intersection because I chose the wrong gear. And so it makes me really hesitant to leave that company. So I've been with them for 6 years now. I moved away and have been telecommuting for going on 3 years now. And there's a part of me that really doesn't want to telecommute. Well, not necessarily doesn't want to telecommute, but I don't want to commute 6 hours once a month. I don't want to do that. But those benefits make it really hard for me to leave. Now, they as a company have invested a lot into me, into my training, into what I do. I've also invested a lot into them, obviously, and I've brought them a lot of money in the end. But it's actually a long-term view on their side, and I missed the gear, to provide those benefits and to provide a living wage, because I'm less likely to leave the company, and so then they're less likely to have to hire somebody to replace me. Instead of having to hire somebody on a regular basis, they hired me once, and they've got to have me around for 6 years. Whether they think that's a good decision in the end is another story, I guess. But oftentimes I see the reduced wage or the lack of benefits as a short-sighted view on the side of the employer. Now, I'm a healthcare organization, or I work for a healthcare organization. So I think that a good place to start would be something like a universal basic income. It's expensive on the out front, but it actually, based on the programs or how much we spend on the programs it would replace, it doesn't actually end up being that expensive. I think that things like the new tax plan that just came through, even though the majority of people are going to see a tax cut, those who saw a greater tax cut are those up top. I'm totally going through this yellow. And based on previous corporate tax cuts and tax cuts to the wealthy, maybe 20% of that's going to make it to the bottom. The other 80% is going to stay in the top and end up in Cayman Island accounts, rather than helping out the country as a whole. And so I think that the better plan would be, well, maybe increase tax rates and provide a universal basic income. Now that may seem backwards, because it says, well, you're raising income to then, or you're raising taxes in order to just put it back and give it back to people. How is that actually helping anybody? What it's doing is it's getting rid of some of that inequality, because it's taxing me. I would probably make enough. I probably make enough now that I would not benefit from a universal basic income. But those who do benefit would benefit profoundly. One of the things it would do is you wouldn't need to have unemployment, because, well, if I get throwing a number out there and it's not necessarily the wrong number. Oh, I am totally speeding. I'm totally speeding. Sorry, but the way the welfare system is set up is that it actually it's seen as a handout. It's seen as detrimental to be on it. Well, yes, Social Security I think is a fine thing, and if we'd stop, I actually don't know as it's going to disappear anytime soon, because we steal money from it to use it, but in theory it'll be paid back. If it never gets paid back, then I guess that's a problem. I'm not planning on Social Security when I retire, so we'll see how that ends up. Hopefully I do have it, and I should have it, but whether I do actually have it is another story. And we've got reduced speed ahead. But what universal basic income would do is it would say two things. It would get rid of our current welfare system, which has a huge overhead. There is a lot of overhead that's associated with our current system because of all the bureaucracy involved. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where my gears are here. Because of the bureaucracy involved, there's a lot of overhead. Now you could say, well, that overhead also creates jobs. But when I was a student, then I made some decisions that I don't necessarily completely agree with, although this isn't necessarily one that I don't agree with. But when I was working on my degree, we had 2 kids while I was working on my degree, and I was working part-time in IT, which meant that I was paying out money for a degree, and I had 2 kids, so I had rent, I had food, whatever else, and we were on food stamps. We were on CHIP, which is the Utah Children's Health Insurance Program type thing. So we were taking advantage of those welfare benefits. What that allowed us to do was I was able to finish my degree, my graduate degree in 2 years, and then I was able to go out and enter the working world with a better income. I have more than paid back the benefits that I took since then. And so I don't see that as having been wrong to take advantage of those options of welfare. But here's the thing. The amount of work that it took to have those benefits, the amount of paperwork that we had to do on a monthly basis to keep those benefits. My wife at the time was a stay-at-home mom, and she spent a huge portion of her time filling out paperwork to get benefits, going down and sitting in the office and just waiting because they were so backlogged, and then sending some fax to some random number and waiting for a confirmation and doing all of that while I was busy working and going to school. And so our current system is broken. Our current welfare system is broken. So a universal basic income could replace that. You could just do away with that because there's no need to go through all of that, because you get an automatic $1,000 a month or whatever, $500 a month or whatever that is. So instead of having heating allowance, and instead of having housing allowance, and instead of having CHIP, and instead of having food stamps, and all of these programs that we currently have that have all these weird requirements and difficulty being on them, you would just have you get $1,000 a month. Now, on that note, everybody would get $1,000 a month. In fact, I would get $1,000 a month. Truth be told, you increase the taxes, and I'm probably at the point now where I would then pay that back in taxes, more or less. But that's okay, because and anybody who's above me would probably pay more than that back in taxes. So it would actually work out to not necessarily be a benefit for them, but what it does is it moves that money from the top to the bottom. If you want to make more than $24,000 a year, I want to make more than $24,000 a year, so I would continue to work. I could also decide, if that were my goal, that I'm going to attempt to be a YouTube celebrity. That's not my goal, but I could attempt to be a YouTube celebrity because I can do that. I can pursue things that I couldn't pursue otherwise, but it's a universal basic income. The idea is that it's enough to scratch by on. It's enough to get by on, and anybody who wants more than that works. Now, if someone didn't want more than that, they could then choose to not make more than that. But take Donald Trump, right? Do you think that he would just stop working because he has a universal basic income? Do you think that Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates, Bill Gates already stopped working because he doesn't need to anymore, he now runs a charitable organization instead, but would someone who makes $100,000 a year, for example, would they choose to just stop working because they get $24,000 a year in universal basic income? No, that would be a decrease of three quarters of their salary. They're not going to stop working. Someone who makes $25,000 a year, could they decide to stop working? They could. They actually could, and they could say, well, I can have 40 hours a week to myself and make the same amount of money. They could do that. But I think more likely they would say, well, I can continue to work and make $50,000 a year instead. But see, I don't think they would, because they would have that choice. But I don't think they would, because I think what they would do is they would say, well, I could stop working now and continue to make $25,000 a year, just like I did before, or I can continue to work and I can increase my spending. I can increase my income from $24,000 to $50,000 a year, which is doubling my lifestyle. Now, there would be some inflation that goes along with that. I don't think they would. See, because I think that they would say, well, I can stop working. I might make this. I can stop working, or I can continue working and I can have more money. Now, maybe somebody who's only making $12,000 a year, maybe they say, well, okay, the minimum wage is $7 an hour, right? So if you work full-time at minimum wage, then you make $14,000 a year. And they might say, you know what, this isn't worth it. And that's a possibility. They might also say, no, I'd still rather have, let's say, 24 plus 14. I'd rather have $38,000 a year than having $24,000 a year. Now, maybe they say, yeah, that's worth it. I'd rather have my time, and that's a possibility. But I think the vast majority of people would say, no, I would still rather have more money. This is just in addition to what I'm already making. Now, maybe they would say, I'm going to quit this crap job that's only paying me $14,000 a year, and I'm going to go to school because now I have $24,000 that is a guaranteed income, and so I can go and I can afford to go to school. And I think I just cut somebody off over there. I can afford to go to school, and I can increase my wage, and I can increase my input into society as well. And so they're going to use that $24,000 a year, and they're not going to work for McDonald's. They're not going to work for Walmart. They're going to go and seek an increased wage, an increased skill set, which will bring in an increased wage, because they have the freedom to do that. Currently, okay, if I'm making $7 an hour, or let's say $10 an hour, I'm working at Walmart and I'm making $10 an hour. Well, if I decide to go to school, then best I can probably do is work part-time. And in so doing, I'm actually decreasing my working money, which means I can't pay my rent. And so then it becomes an impossibility for me. But if I had $24,000 a year, which covers my rent and gives me food on the table, I'm not going to make that turn. Then maybe I would have the possibility of going to school or going to trade school, learning a skill, which will then increase my earning potential beyond $14,000 a year. And I can move on from there. Now, the nice thing that does is as you increase the earning of the lower class, they spend that money. And that creates a desire for restaurants. That creates a desire for phones. I agree, but that's not the only thing, because there are currently people, okay, my brother-in-law until this last week was one of those who, for a couple of weeks, was on unemployment. What did I hit? Oh, I hit that guy right there. And obviously can't drive over the top of that. Who was on unemployment because he was doing construction work and they were in between jobs, so he got let go temporarily. Now he's actually back on the construction job again, but so as part of that, he had to go and get unemployment. Well, that takes a lot of paperwork. That takes a lot of stuff. Now, obviously, he's unemployed. He's got some time. He can do that. So he actually went and got a trucking job. So then he went and got a trucking job. Well, he found out that the trucking job was actually, so he's been a trucker before, and that's actually his preferred job. But the company that he went to work for told him he would be paid a certain amount and that his hours would be thus. And within a week of working for them, he got his first paycheck and found out that it was a whole lot less than they said it was going to be. And they started wanting him to drive off the logbooks, which is illegal. And so he said, hell no, and he left. Well, because of that, his unemployment then said, well, you quit your job, so you shouldn't be on unemployment. And so then he had to go back. Sorry, I think I caught something with my trailer. So then he went on to unemployment, and he had to then do an appeal because they said, well, you quit your job, so you can't go on unemployment. And he had to then put in an appeal and say, look, I wonder, do I have a diff lock? And so then he had to put on, and I killed it. So he's having to file an appeal now. At this point, he's working again. So he's not destitute right now. But the money that he should have gotten from unemployment, which he had paid into, because it's unemployment that you and your employer pay into, instead of getting that money, he's now fighting an appeal to do so. And I totally ran into that. Okay, so I'm actually going to back up from the outside view because I don't think that I'm going to do well if I don't. But so the overhead involved in getting him that unemployment is problematic. It causes an overhead. And so instead, under a universal basic income, he would just live off of that universal basic income until he got another job. So then you would go in and say, well, I'm between jobs right now, so I live off this, and I go and look for a job. And instead of all that time spent trying to get unemployment, that time can now be spent doing something useful, whether it's going to school, whether it's, looking for jobs, whether it's starting your own company. That can then, that time that would be used trying to get benefits is now going to actually do something useful. And this is a horrible backing job. There are downsides. There are definite downsides to universal basic income. One of those is inflation. But the truth of the matter is that the people that inflation is most going to hurt are those people who already have way more than they need to have. I mean, if I'm a real estate mogul and I'm going to complain about inflation because that now makes all of my investments, all of my real estate worth less than it was before. But if I'm someone on the bottom, I don't have investments. I don't have that kind of money. I have my rent and I have my my everyday costs, and those will go up. They might go up 2 or 3%. They might go up more than that, but they're not going to go up as much as I gain from having the universal basic income. They're not. And so what's going to happen is I will be better off than I was. I should link this maybe in the things in case anybody cares. But up until from World War II, I am doing horrible here. It doesn't, though. It depends on where the inflation comes from. If the inflation comes because someone up top is investing money, then yeah, it hurts the bottom. But if the inflation comes because the bottom has more spending money, it doesn't hurt them as much. Look at, and I can't do this right now while I'm driving. Agreed. But if the inflation is coming because your income increased from 20,000 to 50,000, but then inflation happens and that becomes, we'll say, I'm trying to think of what a likely number is, say that becomes, instead of 50,000, it becomes the equivalent of what used to be 40,000, you still came out ahead. Whereas somebody who has, say, $1 million, I'm not going to make this. I am having a horrible time with this. Maybe that's what I get for talking philosophical economics while I'm trying to park a truck. And I agree, if inflation happens and your income stays the same, then it does hurt you. I agree. But if that inflation were to happen because your income increased, okay, and why is that? Why did food went up 50 or 30%? If you look at the graph, during those same times, do a quick search for, what did I search for? There's a Wikipedia article that talks about corporate profits versus, I'm going the wrong way, corporate profits versus employee wages. And what you'll see is that even through the 80s, corporate profits went up, but employee wages didn't go up. Employee wages basically stagnated. So while corporations and those in the higher percentages, in the higher percentiles, were making more money, your average man, those at the bottom, were not. And so yes, prices went up and nobody got increased pay I am not nailing this at all. So corporate profits went up, the GDP went up, but yours and my wages did not go up. Why, what? The prices went up? It does. Because if prices went up because wages increased, then you end up the same. Let me take an example. I've worked for the same company for 6 years. Every year, they give a cost of living wage increase. It's great. I have yet now it's not a guarantee. They could choose 1 year not to, but so far they have not done so. So that means, come June 1st when our new fiscal year starts, I plan on having a 3% wage. Now maybe I won't get it, and by saying I plan on, maybe plan on isn't the correct term. I expect a 3% wage increase come the new fiscal year, which comes along in June. I might make this. I don't think it's going to count it though. Well, here's the thing. If they didn't give me that cost of living wage increase, I would actually be making more. Oh, you know what? Part of the problem is I'm trying to back in here at the wrong angle. If they don't give me that cost of living wage increase, that means because of inflation, I'm actually making more or less next year than I was this year because they didn't give me an increase to match inflation. That means that despite my skill set having grown and me being better at my job and being with the company longer, they're actually paying me less than they would have otherwise. Which, again, from a business standpoint, is a bad deal. I mean, you're not going to keep long-term employees that way. Or if you are, you're screwing them over. Oh, I totally had it. I don't care how bad this parking job looks. If it's letting me, I'm going to do it. Okay. So, we did make it. And so if you're not giving a cost of living wage increase, then that's not okay. And what you'll see is that for damage penalty. Okay. For the last 50 years, although corporate profits have gone up, wages have not gone up. Wages have more or less stagnated. Corporate profits have gone like this, wages have gone like that. And so the problem is that more and more and more of that money is ending up here. I'm actually going to call it. It's been a great talk, fair warning. It really has been a great talk. Gave me a lot to talk about. I need to go get some lunch. It's 12:30 at this point. I'm going to grab some lunch, and then I've got other things I need to get done. But thanks for the talk. It's been great. And maybe I'll see you next time. To anybody else, thanks for watching the stream as well, and I will see you next time.